So, the plot. Stories have a plot. And a plot is represented on the page here with this line. And this is a typical plot line. You can see slightly different plot lines if you study literature. But the problem is a lot of preachers and Bible interpreters never think about plot because they've been taught to look for data. What's this next verse? Here's a theological point. What's this next verse? But when we're looking at a story, at a narrative, we have to see the plot that's there. It's the way that stories work. And so what we have is, number one, we have the setting. That can be very brief. Number two, this is where it becomes a story. The tension is created. There's a conflict. Once the tension is created, the tension is going to rise, because if it doesn't, if it's resolved straight away, it's not particularly interesting. So the tension is going to rise. Eventually, number four, the tension will be resolved, and then number five, there will be the resolution, the final comment. It will be brief, typically the denouement, if you want a literary term. And that, once you get to know that, you will start seeing that in movies, in TV shows, in Bible stories, in novels, whatever you're looking at, anything that functions in narrative, it's that. It's tension created and resolved. So in a TV show, just to use a neutral example, the TV show starts with a woman driving home in her car, shopping on the back seat. She pulls onto the driveway of her perfect American street, and she pulls out the shopping and walks into the house. That's got to happen pretty quickly because it's not very interesting. And if this goes on too long, you're going to change channel, right? So they know that. So as soon as she gets through that door, she's confronted by her husband who's been killed with a sword or something, all right? As she drops the bags, it's a shock. Next moment, the police are all around. There's, all the ribbons. Now you're interested, like, killed with a sword in his own living room. That's interesting. That doesn't happen every day, does it? So you're gripped by the number two. And as the story starts to be told, now they'll do the credits because you won't leave now, by the way. They'll put the opening credits after the tension is created. In the old days, people paid to go to the cinema. It was the most exciting thing in their life. And they'd sit there for 15 minutes of credits before the movie started. Nowadays, on a TV, you've got 1,000 other options, so they want to grab you. So then the credits come, very brief. Then you're into the story. Police are interviewing the woman. Does your husband have any enemies? No, he's wonderful. Has anybody threatened him lately? Oh, there was this guy at work. Oh, tell me about him. Oh, well, he's kind of an angry guy who collects swords. And you go, oh. If you're a detective, which all of us males at least are, I don't think females are this shallow, but all of us males are thinking, I could do this job. We're watching it thinking, I know it is. Now, if you're actually a clever one, you'll say, no, it's not him because it's only 5 minutes into the show. It's not going to be him. It's too obvious. Right? And so then they go and find him, and he's got an alibi. It turns out it's not him, and the story continues, and it gets more and more complex. And then with about 10 minutes to go, if you're a good detective, you say, right, here comes the twist. There it is, and some bit of story is introduced. They go and arrest the person. Turns out that it was such and such a person. It was their gardener who had whatever. And so then he's arrested. Now the story's pretty much over, so they don't take another 10 minutes because it's a waste of time. It's 20 seconds as the guy gets put in a police car and the wife is comforted, and then the credits roll. That's it. And actually, if you watch crime drama, that is it every single time. So why do people keep watching them? You can have 7 series of the same thing. 7 times 24 episodes with exactly the same plot every single time. The reason is that people enjoy it. They get drawn into the characters, and they enjoy the feeling that comes when the tension is resolved. Anybody relate to that? Do I have any crime drama fans here? You could literally watch, Blue Bloods, CSI, all the different versions. They're all doing the same thing. But it's the characters that draw us in, and it's always that tension to be resolved. And that's how TV shows work. Movies are different because you don't know when the resolution's coming. And they can make it much more complex because they have an hour and a half, but they can't develop the characters because they've only got one go. So there's a difference there, but stories basically work in that way.